Whatever. Hi, welcome to Whatever. I'm Dragon Bat.
I'm Alex Streak.
And today's topic, we are on the idea of disaster movies. As you may have seen from our last episode, we discussed Volcano. Today we're going to talk about another volcano movie. That is Dante's Peak. Dante's Peak came out in 1997 also. So it is one of the classic or older disaster movies. And as you may remember from our last episode, I talked to you about how much I love disaster movies.
Yeah.
And I do. Disaster movies are great.
Yeah. You're funny.
Dante's Peak gives us a new twist, a different twist. What we got, number one, Pierce Brosnan. Pierce Brosnan, for those of you who do not know him or never heard of him, was an actor that came out in the 90s. And number one, he played James Bond. He was one of those people that did a great Bond, better than many of the others that have since come and gone. He's definitely up there in the top three of the Bonds. He's got class. He's got that same Sean Connery-ish, granted, he's from Ireland. And one of the things that if you don't know anything else about him, is he's one of the people that actually gave Sean Connery a Lifetime Achievement Award. He was one of the speakers, talking about how watching Sean Connery showed him how even a person from, a small town, from Townsend, Ireland, can actually dream of being something bigger. And he followed the footsteps in becoming an actor of Sean Connery. But in this one, Pierce Brosnan plays a member of the U.S. Geological Service. His job is he's a volcanologist. He studies volcanoes. The movie starts out, and by the way, yes, there are going to be tons of spoilers. So if you haven't seen it and you want to see it before I spoil the crap out of it, go watch it. Worth doing so.
Yes.
Take my advice right now. The movie opens, he and his girlfriend are at basically down below a volcano that is going off. And they made the mistake of thinking they could get out before
It goes
went boom. And, I mean, you've got the volcano's exploding and it's shooting these fire bombs out. And these bombs are just blowing crap up left and right. And one goes to the roof of the truck he's driving and takes his girlfriend out. Boom. No more girlfriend, no more fiance. You're single again.
Yeah.
Well, this has an effect on him. Number one, he's a lot more careful. Number two, he's sent to Dante's Peak because they're getting little rumblings. One of the things that science has shown us is that before a volcano really goes boom, there's a bunch of micro-earthquakes. Now, the fact that micro-earthquakes exist is not enough proof by itself. We live in El Paso. El Paso has earthquakes all year long. We just don't feel them because they're so small. Didn't know that, did you?
No.
Yes, we do. A lot of the world has little earthquakes under it. They just don't feel them. If they're below a 1 on the Richter scale, you don't notice them. So he's sent out there by his boss instead of being allowed to take his vacation. So he goes out there. One of the first things he does is he meets the mayor, who is the co-star of the show. An attractive woman. Yes, he falls for her. She falls for him. You got your love angle going, okay? That's there. But he meets her and he starts doing his investigation. And he's concerned enough that he tells the mayor, you might want to put the people on notice. Warn them, his boss shows up and totally cuts his throat. Says, no, we're not saying you need to do anything yet, blah, 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 blah. Well, over the next few days, nothing supports what he says. And then everything supports what he says.
Mm-hmm.
We start getting, you got the scene where the two backpackers go out to go fool around in hot
Mm-hmm.
spring.
And
Well,
they turn.
they roast.
Mm-hmm.
And you got, I mean, the
The water
d-
becomes.
acid.
Mm-hmm.
The level of. They did some research into volcanoes when they prepared this show.
Yeah.
You see the sulfur levels increasing. You see the mini earthquakes. You see all these things are portrayed before the big boom.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing they show you is when a volcano goes boom, there are certain things that happen. Number one, you get the flood.
Yeah.
Most volcanoes have, if they've been dormant for a significant amount of time, may very well be ice and snow on these mountains. And when that's heated up, it becomes water.
Mm-hmm.
And when water comes down the mountain very quickly, you get floods. And one of the flood that they show in this one takes out the bridge out of Dante. Now, okay, I got to pause here. Who on earth names their town Dante?
Mm-hmm.
Who names their mountain Dante's Peak?
And
Dante,
who on Earth wants to live there? You're named after.
a guy who found and studied hell.
No,
No.
thank you. I'd be on the other volcano watching them, like, wait.
You mean the other mountain?
Yeah.
Because if you're on the same another volcano, all you're doing is postponing. All I know is this is not something that screams to me, "Come live here."
Nope.
There's certain places in the world whose very names say, "Move."
Mm-hmm.
Dante's Peak, Death Valley. Oh yeah, I really want to live in a place whose name says Death. Hi, I live in Death Valley. Why would you do this? How dumb can you be? Living in a place called Dante.
No.
But okay, these idiots, these people that live in Dante, number one, I love how in the very beginning of the movie they're getting an award for being the second most desirable place to live, population less than what? Call it 50,000. You can look it up. So it's a smaller town, and it's the number 2 place to live in the United States. Yeah, not no more.
Yeah. And even the guy who went there went for now.
But it's the build up was amazing,
Mm-hmm.
and how it kept growing until it finally you're in the precursors. Everything is, this thing is going to blow, and they're trying to evacuate. They're trying to get all this done, and your hero Pierce Bronson has to go with his girlfriend to be the mayor to save her kids who've gone up the mountain to be with their grandmother. It's a little twisted there, but hey, the end result is they end up having to cross a lake that's turned to acid. The grandmother steps up, saves their lives. They come down the mountain in a car that has no tires anymore because they drove over a section of lava,
Mm-hmm.
and end up slamming themselves into an old mine to get away from the pyroclastic cloud. Now, a pyroclastic cloud is when it goes boom, this cloud comes out, and it is moving hecka fast.
And it's hecka hot.
It destroys everything in its path. So they dive into this cave, this old mine shaft, to get away from that. And in the end, they're rescued. But, granted, what is he? Pierce Bronson tells the kids, "We get out of this, we're going deep sea fishing." Never been, but we're going.
Mm-hmm.
And they end the movie with the kids going, "Were you serious about us going deep sea fishing?" And he's like, "Yes, we're going." The thing is, Dante's Peak, good disaster movie. Small scale, you're not blowing up an entire state, but a good movie. And all right, the love angle in this one was fairly good. I enjoyed it. Um, for one of the classic disaster movies, overall fairly decent. It is definitely in my top 10 disaster movies. Now, if you're wondering what my number one disaster movie is and what my rankings are, we'll make up a list. We'll put it up and we'll discuss that in another episode.
Yes.
Now, before we post our list, if you have your favorite disaster movie, let us know.
Mm-hmm.
Give us your list of your top 10 favorite disaster movies of all times. And then we will go through and we will discuss the different lists in a follow-up episode. For those of you that haven't seen Dantes Peak, after I've just spoiled it all for you, go watch it anyway. It's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched it many times. Alex now has seen it for his first time, and you liked?
I like it.
It was a good show. It will generally keep your attention. It's not a movie that I fast forward through a lot of boring scenes. So this is good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I would give it, it's worth your time and effort.
Yes.
If you like disaster movies, it's a nice, fun little disaster movie. Go enjoy it.